A bridge rises out of open ocean like a straight-up cheat code. No mountains, no land, just water, wind, waves, concrete and steel, stretching for tens of kilometers. And the insane part? These projects don't take a lifetime. They get finished on timelines that make the rest of the world blink and go, seriously? How? You drive onto one side and it feels normal for about 10 seconds. Then you look left. Water. You look right. Water. Ahead? A thin line of roadway slicing through the sea like someone drew it with a ruler. It's the kind of view that makes your brain whisper, this can't be real. But it is. Literally. China has built multiple sea-crossing bridges that are so long, so complex, and so fast to deliver that they feel like they were dropped into place overnight. Not because magic, because a massive construction machine exists behind the scenes. A machine made of engineering, logistics, national planning, and raw organizational power. And if you're thinking, okay, maybe it's just one famous bridge, no way. It's a pattern. Let's talk about that feeling people get when they watch these builds. It's not just, wow, big bridge, it's wow, the speed of the system. Because building over the sea is not like building on land. On land, you can move equipment easily. Over the sea, everything is harder. You're fighting corrosion, salt, wind, currents, typhoons, fog. Your work platform is literally moving water, and yet the schedule keeps marching forward. So how does that happen? First, China treats infrastructure like a strategy, not a side project. A lot of places debate infrastructure like it's optional. China often treats it like the backbone of economic growth, national integration, and long-term competitiveness. So when a project is chosen, it's not maybe. It becomes a priority. That changes everything. It changes how fast approvals move. It changes how funding shows up. It changes how many teams get assigned. It changes how problems get escalated and solved. And it changes the mindset on the ground. Delays are not normal. Delays are enemies. Now let's zoom in on what speed really means on a sea bridge. Speed is not just workers moving faster. Speed is removing the pauses. Most mega projects don't fail because people can't build. They fail because they stop. They stop for redesigns. They stop for supply issues. They stop for financing drama. They stop for coordination breakdowns. They stop because 10 contractors are waiting on one missing decision. China's advantage is often the ability to keep the pipeline flowing. Design, materials, fabrication, transport, installation, testing, like a factory, but stretched across the ocean. And yes, it's mind-blowing to watch. Here's a key idea. Modular construction. Instead of building everything in place, you build huge pieces in controlled environments. You standardize, you repeat, you mass-produce components, then you ship them out and assemble them fast. This is why you see those giant concrete segments, those massive steel sections, those prefabricated parts that look like Lego, if Lego weighed thousands of tons. When you fabricate in a controlled site, quality becomes easier to manage. You can test materials, you can control curing, you can build multiple pieces at once, and you're not constantly waiting for perfect weather. Then comes the ocean delivery system, specialized barges, heavy lift cranes, marine piling rigs, vessels that don't just carry stuff, they are floating factories. And China has built a deep bench of companies and teams that do this repeatedly. That repetition matters. A lot. Because the first time you do a sea bridge, everything is a new problem. The 10th time, you have playbooks. You have specialized crews. You have suppliers who already know the specs. You have equipment that's already built for the job. And you have managers who have seen the ocean punch schedules in the face before. That experience turns impossible into scheduled. Now, you can't talk about China sea bridges without mentioning one of the most famous examples. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is a monster. It's roughly 55 kilometers when you count the full link system, and it includes a major undersea tunnel section and artificial islands. That is not a simple bridge. That is a mega system, built across a busy marine environment with serious engineering constraints. And this is where people go, okay, but what's the real engine behind the speed? Let's say it clearly. Coordination at scale. China can mobilize huge workforces and multiple contractors in parallel. Not one team doing one piece at a time. Many teams doing many pieces at the same time, like a construction orchestra. One group handles foundations. Another group handles segments. Another handles corrosion protection. Another handles paving. Another handles monitoring systems. Another handles safety and quality checks. Another handles the shipping logistics. And all of them are being pushed by a timeline that is treated like a national scoreboard. That's why the build feels fast, because it's not one build, it's dozens of builds happening simultaneously connected by a central plan. Now add technology. Not cute robot waiter technology. Hard, industrial problem-solving technology. Surveying and mapping are sharper than ever. Positioning and alignment are precise. Sensors monitor stress, wind, and movement. Digital models help teams coordinate complex parts before they even touch the sea. This cuts down surprises, and surprises are what slow mega projects down. But here's the twist. Tech alone doesn't create speed. Tech amplifies a system that is already organized. If your organization is messy, tech just makes messy faster. If your organization is disciplined, tech makes disciplined faster. Now we get to the part most people don't think about. Why build these sea bridges at all? Because they're not just bridges. They're time machines for economies. A sea link can turn a multi-hour detour into a direct route. It can connect ports to factories. It can connect airports to cities. It can merge separate markets into one mega region. And when you reduce travel time and shipping time, you reduce cost. When you reduce cost, trade increases. When trade increases, investment follows. So from the state's point of view, a sea bridge can be a lever. Pull the lever and you reshape movement. You reshape development. You reshape where people live, where companies build, where money flows. That's why the ambition feels so intense. It's not a vanity project mindset. It's a rewire the map mindset. And when you view it like that, the speed makes more sense. If the goal is to upgrade the national operating system, you don't move at normal project speed. You move at system upgrade speed. Now let's be real. This kind of speed has trade-offs. Building fast is not free. It demands enormous capital. It demands high-pressure schedules. It demands tough decisions. It can amplify risk if quality control slips for even a second. And sea bridges are not build once, celebrate forever. They are maintenance monsters. Saltwater is relentless. Corrosion is a daily enemy. Wind loads and temperature changes stress the structure constantly. Traffic vibrations add up. So the real achievement is not just building fast, it's building to survive for decades in an aggressive environment. That's why these projects often feature heavy-duty corrosion protection, monitoring systems, and long-term inspection plans. Because the sea does not care about your world record. Now let's talk about the psychology of speed. Because this is where it gets really fascinating. In many places, mega projects are treated like political landmines. Too expensive, too controversial, too slow, too risky. So the default is caution, delay, debate, delay again, redesign, delay again. In China, once a major infrastructure direction is set, the system can move with a kind of locked-in momentum. A lot of obstacles that stall projects elsewhere can be reduced through centralized decision-making and integrated planning. And that's the core reason people feel shocked. It's not that Chinese engineers are superhuman. It's that the system is designed to execute large-scale decisions fast. Execution is the point. You see it in the supply chain, too. Steel, cement, rebar, asphalt, cable, bearings, coatings. A sea bridge eats materials like a giant. If your supply chain is slow, your project starves. If your supply chain is fast, your project keeps running. China has immense industrial capacity, and on top of that, it has a pattern of aligning industry with infrastructure demand. When the pipeline is planned, manufacturers can ramp, transport can schedule, ports can prepare, factories can produce to spec. That alignment is what makes the construction site feel like it never runs out of oxygen. Now picture the ocean site again. Piles driven deep underwater. Foundations built with precision. Segments lifted into place by cranes that look like moving skyscrapers. Teams working in shifts, lights on at night. And a schedule that does not politely pause just because the work is hard. That's why the whole thing feels like a construction megazord, a machine that never sleeps. But here's the smartest way to understand it. China isn't building bridges faster than you go to work because everyone is rushing. China is building them faster because the system reduces wasted time between steps. That's the real speed. The gaps disappear. One team finishes a step, and the next step is already staged. Materials are already delivered, equipment is already positioned, plans are already approved, and the feedback loop is short. Problems get answered fast. In project management terms, this is basically extreme compression of the critical path. In normal human terms, it feels like sorcery. And yes, it can be scary. Because when you watch a state put money, power, and organization behind a goal, you're seeing what happens when obstacles become negotiable. Not all obstacles, but enough obstacles that timelines shrink. That's where the ambition part lands. These bridges are symbols, not in a poetic way, in a very practical way. They signal capability. They signal coordination. They signal that the country can move heavy objects, heavy decisions, and heavy resources at scale. And in the modern world, that is power. Now, if you're watching from the US or the UK, you might be thinking, okay, but could we do this? Technically, yes, many countries have the engineering talent, but engineering talent is only one ingredient. You need political continuity. You need financing that doesn't collapse mid-project. You need procurement that doesn't turn into endless conflict. You need supply chains lined up. You need stable long-range planning. And you need a public system that can actually hold a mega schedule together for years. China's model is not the only model, and it comes with costs and controversies in different contexts. But if the question is, how can the speed be so intense? The answer is clear. Infrastructure is treated like a mission. Execution is treated like a performance metric. And the state has the leverage to align money, labor, industry, and planning behind that mission. So when you see a bridge cutting across the sea, don't just see concrete. See the hidden machine behind it. See the factories shaping segments months ahead. See the logistics scheduling lifts and shipments like clockwork. See the project managers tracking thousands of tasks. See the centralized push that keeps the timeline from drifting. See the national ambition that turns nice idea into start building. That's why these sea bridges feel like they come from the future. Not because the future is shiny, because the future is organized. And here's the craziest takeaway. The bridge is not the headline. The headline is the ability to build the bridge. Because once a country can repeatedly deliver projects at that scale, over water, under weather, under pressure, on a tight timeline, it changes what the country believes is possible next. More tunnels, more links, more mega regions, more we can do it momentum. And that is where people get that dizzy, overwhelmed feeling. Like you're watching a giant system rewrite reality in real time. So next time you're stuck in traffic on your way to work and you're watching the minutes disappear, just remember this. Somewhere out there, a crew is lowering a 1,000-ton segment into the ocean with centimeter precision. Somewhere out there, a schedule is marching forward through wind and salt, and a line across the sea is turning into a highway. Literally. If you want more stories where the real world looks fake, like it's glitching, then stick around. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the world is way weirder than you think. See you in the next hidden line.